Max Holloway needs to consider retirement. He's done. He's done for one reason. He has nobody to fight. There's no opponent. Max Holloway cannot main event a card ever again. Max Holloway will never fight for a world championship again. So Max's participation in the UFC is for nothing more than a waste of time. That was the narrative just less than 2 years ago. If you'll recall, Max and Volkanovski very clearly were the cream of the crop at 145. There was not a close third. Ortega and Uribe and Josh Emmett would fit right in there, but they were a massive step down from Max and Volkanovski. And it put Max in a position that was almost going to force him to be retired. As a matter of fact, when I tell you nobody knew what to do with Max, there was so little you could do with Max. With this great and wonderful fighter that's going to be fighting for nothing, because no matter what he does or wins, he can't get back to a championship fight. Oh, which, by the way, somebody slips on an orange peel and he does get the championship fight. He can't win the fight, so there's no point in doing it anyway. There was so little that they took him out of the weight class. When Max fought Gaethje, and I feel like you guys never paid attention to this. It's not a matter of you forgot. You just didn't really notice it in the first place. Max never asked to fight Gaethje. Max never called for that fight. Justin Gaethje never asked to fight Max. Justin Gaethje never called for that fight. They took it at UFC 300. They go on and put on what might be the greatest fight of all time. Definitely the greatest conclusion and greatest knockout of all time. But I mean, that thing was so cloaked in awards and praise and of the night and of extra bonuses. It was the third fight from the top of the bill, guys. It wasn't expected to be massive even after it was booked, and it was only booked because there was no one else they could creatively think to put against Max. He's in a bad spot. Max was in a bad spot. And Max said, I appreciate everything you're doing, the opportunity in UFC 300 and the placement and the legend in Justin Gaethje, but I don't care about any of these things. Home is 145 pounds, and my belt is at featherweight. So he wins that BMF title. He turns that in. He uses it as a golden ticket to get down to what he really wanted, which is a shot to get what he viewed as his belt back. So now you move Max to 155, because I can sit here, guys, and I can tell you repeatedly till I'm blue in the face how well Dustin fought, and he did. Dustin was so sharp, his conditioning was so well. He's in the middle of the third round, and he's talking to Max. I'm just telling you as an outsider, I'm watching that. I had never been in a third round of my life where I could talk to my opponent, because that air was so important, and it was at such a premium. And I'm watching Dustin going, man, you've been knocked down. You knocked him down. You almost finished him. He almost finished you. With that excitement, with that adrenaline dump and all in tow, you were still fit enough to speak to the best conditioned athlete our sport has. I was stunned in that moment. I really was. But if I tell you how great Dustin did, how light he was on his feet, if I tell you how he was finding those combinations, he was touching the body, coming back upstairs, if I tell you how good his takedown defense was, and even slightly, though it didn't work, his offense was. Jumping to Gillian the whole bit, delivering on everything that he was supposed to do. If I do that, you're quickly going to turn the gun in my face and say, then Chael, why didn't he win? If he did even a portion of what you're saying he did in New Orleans, a portion of that in his first two fights with Max, he would have won. He did win. Okay, so how can you say he did even more and lost? How did Dustin get beat? And the answer was very simple. And the answer is physiology. Dustin had never fought a lightweight Max before. There was never a time that Max wanted to be a lightweight. And Max fought for belts up there. He almost fought for the undisputed belt against Khabib. He did fight for the interim belt against Dustin. He did fight for the BMF belt two different times. Justin and Dustin, the hardest draw you can get, the 1-2 punch nobody wants. He got them both. So why was he able to win this time? And it was very visible. The size of Max the boy is gone. Max is now filled in, and he is quite a man. And when I talk about filling in, it was in his shoulders. It was in his traps. It was in his back. They did a face-off the day before. They both were given about 8 hours to rehydrate after the official weigh-in. They do a ceremonial weigh-in, which really just means we're going to come face-to-face. Guys, Max was huge. 8 hours prior, they both weigh the exact same thing. So you can say something stupid like, he looked bigger. Well, they weigh the exact same. And I know what you mean. Sometimes a guy does just look bigger. 8 hours later, when they come face-to-face at the ceremonial, Max was bigger. Max had always been taller, but he didn't have the shoulders. He didn't have the width. He didn't have the back. He didn't have the width. And you get him in the ring for their final instructions. They come face-to-face, and you say, okay, this is an animal unlike the animal that Dustin fought 2 previous times. The 2 previous fights will not play in. And Max really didn't fight any different. His punches did a little bit more damage. And when he took punches, they did a little bit less damage. And Max kept trying to spin and he couldn't land. And Dominic Cruz pointed out, you can't spin on a southpaw because he's not there. An orthodox fighter goes to step, he walks right into your punch. And southpaw fighter, as soon as he sees you spin, he goes to step, he's out of the way. Your kick hits nothing. And Max had done that 4 times. So Dustin came in with a very good plan. Max fought very well. I didn't feel that either one of them fought better tonight than they did in the previous fights. But how do you get a different outcome? Well, when you're carrying around that extra size, you can absorb shots at a different rate. When you deliver a shot and you are a bigger man, they take more effect. And it was a close fight, but ultimately that's what it was. The days of young featherweight Max are behind us. Max Holloway, welcome to the lightweight division.